Hello, my name is Josh Thrift. I am SCPC's Vice President of Campus Relations and Recruitment.
And I'm Carly Bloomingdale. I'm the Associate Director for Student Center Programs.
And we're here right now to give you a nice presentation on marketing your programs to residents, because ideally it would be nice to have people attend. So we'll go over some stuff on how to effectively market.
So in this presentation, we're going to talk about who we are, what we do, and why we care, SCPC's marketing approach and how you can make it work for you. We'll talk about opportunities to market in the residence halls, go over some resources that you have available to you, and then we're going to talk about some COVID-19 considerations. It won't be an exhaustive list, but just some things to keep in mind. So a little bit about us. As I said, I'm Carly Bloomingdale. I'm the Associate Director for Student Center Programs. What that means is I advise SCPC. I manage the folks who used to manage Under the Couch, Tech Rec, and Paper and Clay in the Student Center. And so a little bit about me. Why am I talking to you right now about marketing your programs? I was an RA for 3 years when I was an undergrad. Loved the RA job. Really enjoyed the programs part of it, more so than the crisis. But it's all good work. I was an advertising major with a marketing minor at Ball State University. And then I was a hall director for 4 years at a couple different schools. And then I was an off-campus housing property manager here in Atlanta, just right off of campus. And now I've been an SCPC advisor for 5 years now. So that's a little bit about me, why I'm qualified to talk to you about this, but why I care. Your residents are our students that come to our events. So if you put on great programs, that helps us as well. They get used to awesome programs. We can kind of work together on all of our programs. And there's a lot of opportunity for us to collaborate and kind of overlap in this. John?
Yeah, and like I said before, I'm Josh, the VP of Campus Relations and Recruitment within ICPC. And basically what that long title means is that I oversee SCPC's marketing committee and also recruitment committee. So a lot of the events that you may have seen on Facebook or Instagram, I oversee releasing those on social media and also the design process for marketing, and also any other marketing initiatives that we may pursue, such as tabling on skiles or putting up flyers, chalking, all those types of things. I provide the resources to chairs to be able to effectively market their events. And that's my email right there. Just a little bit more about myself, both related and unrelated to the Student Center Programs Council. I'm a 4th year at Georgia Tech. I major in chemical and biomolecular engineering. And formally, this was my title in SCPC in 2019. I was the festivals chair. So if you've ever heard of Sting Break, that's what I was primarily in charge of for the spring semester. And I oversaw all the logistics and marketing related to that event. In addition, I've been a member overall for 2 years within the Student Center Programs Council, and some experience outside of SCPC within the new student and transition programs. I currently am a facet leader, and I was a rec camp counselor for the past 2 summers, but not this one. A little bit about why I care and why I joined SCPC. So events serve, what I really like about events is that they serve a nice distraction and reminder that there is life outside of the classroom. And I feel like students can undervalue the importance of taking breaks and taking some time for themselves. So they're wonderful opportunities for building community on campus. And put simply, there's nothing quite like the feeling of putting a smile on someone's face after they've attended an event, or just brightening someone's day, even if it's just a little bit. So that's why I love being a part of SCPC. In addition to that, like, I understand the community aspect, and being a facet leader this past year, I know that they may not have like the same introduction that first years may typically have. Not all of you will work directly with first years, but just as an example, they may not have as much time to get to know each other. So these types of events can be critical for the same community bonding that we want every year to enjoy at Georgia Tech. So yeah, now I'll go through SCPC's marketing approach. This may not look exactly like your marketing approach, but just to give you an idea of what we typically do to effectively market a program, I'll go through our timeline. So we start the whole design process 5 weeks in advance, so it's pretty early, but it guarantees that the Facebook event goes live in plenty of time and that enough people end up hearing about the event, and if there are any problems related to the design or event details, those changes can be made with plenty of time, and it prevents any mistakes or errors being released to the public related to event details. So we'll start the design process 5 weeks before, and then 4 weeks before we'll plan teasering for events. So teasering is a term that's pretty unique to SCPC. I don't hear it used a lot with other organizations, but basically that's a word for tabling, but alternatively, it's interactive tabling. You're sampling a piece of the event, bringing it to Skiles Walkway or wherever else you may want to be tabling, whether it's the bottom of Freshman Hill or by First or at West Village, and you're bringing an activity to tabling so that people can interact directly with you, and it's not just handing out flyers. And that way, it's more of an enjoyable experience for both the tabler and the people who walk past you while you're tabling. And then 3 weeks before the event, we usually have the design finished by then, and someone else proofreads it always, and usually that's me, that's the chair for the event and the advisor for the event, just to make sure there aren't any typos or the date isn't wrong, the time isn't wrong. You'd be surprised what can get overlooked just because the details can be really small, but also they're really important. Around 2.5 weeks before the event, we'll post it on social media. So that's when we'll release it on Facebook, and we'll start releasing more stuff on Instagram related to the event. And also 2.5 weeks in advance, we'll start print marketing. So that includes printing out the flyers that'll go up in residence halls, and also just putting flyers on random post-it boards around campus. That could be in the Koch and Howey. There's lots of different locations for that. This is also two weeks before is around the time when we'll start teasering for the event, and that's when we'll print out 4-ups, those little flyers that have all the event details on it, and we'll start talking to people about it face to face. And of course, we'll post more about it again on social media. One post or one event isn't really enough to get everyone's attention and to help people remember when the event is happening. So we try to post throughout those 2 weeks before it actually takes place. And then 1 week before, we'll order any day of signage. So what day of signage is if you've been to Six Flags, those are the signs that direct you to bus lines or direct you to how to get to the event and like where you need to go. Any information that needs to be displayed in pretty large text so it catches your attention, that'll be day of signage. Also, we'll continue teasering, and like I said before, keep making posts related to the event, and not just pretty like bland just text posts. We try to make them more interactive and engaging, and it could be videos, it could be memes. There's lots of different options there. So like I said before, your marketing approach isn't going to look exactly like our marketing approach because for lots of different reasons, it may not be targeting all of the Georgia Tech community, so it may be a little more small scale, but thinking about how to adapt our approach into yours, what you can do instead of teasering is simply talking about it while walking through buildings or just interacting with your residents and making sure that they know about them and saying, hey, like I'll be there, you should come join it with me. And that could be a really great chance for them to learn more about the event and why they should come. But also you can be really creative with it. The options are really limitless in how you want to teaser to people. Word of mouth is really effective. If you have a great relationship with your residents and tell them that you're going to be at the event, they're more likely to go because they want to see you there and hang out with you. And make it work for your timeline. What's really most important you're not going to do all the same activities that we do, but what's really most important is to start marketing as early as possible, start making flyers as early as possible, and also to release more things than just one initial flyer. There are many more ways to be engaging with your marketing rather than one flyer sent out an hour beforehand. Well, it's a lot of by that time a lot of people may have already made plans and they can't attend the event before, or they can't attend the event anymore. So it's good to release it several weeks in advance, a week in advance, just so enough people know about it and can make plans to attend. And also use the media that works best for you and your residents. Know where they're most likely to see a piece of marketing, whether that be a GroupMe or a channel on Slack. If you all use social media, that's great and that works for you. But if you don't have social media, then there are other ways that you can make sure that people see your marketing. And like I mentioned before, memes are pretty good. Not sure if meme or effective marketing. That'll get people's attention and a lot of times increases engagement with whatever you're releasing related to the marketing for your event.
So a little bit about the things you must do when you're marketing. If you're making a flyer of some sort, you always need to remember the basics to it. So that's when is your event. It's really important to have the date and the time. If either of those things is missing, good luck having people at your event. Where, location is always important. Don't assume that people know it's going to be in the lounge on your floor. There could be several different locations, and they really kind of need that guidance of where to go. If you're meeting at a place, describe where you're meeting before you go, if it's not something that's in your hall. And then always tell them what is going on. If there's some special activity that's happening, they need to like plan appropriately. I don't know, wear the right type of shoes even. So it's really important for them to know what's going on. Not just an awesome opportunity to hang out with you, but what is the activity that's happening there. It always needs to be easy and accessible to read. So what we mean by that is there are some wacky fonts out there in the world. Pick a font that's legible. We have had a lot of our designers pick some really cool fonts that kind of fit with the theme of the event, but you couldn't read anything. So we asked them, that's a really cool font, but can you dial it back down? We want to make sure people can read the information on the marketing. As well as color choices. Sometimes folks can have a hard time reading red on white or yellow on white, or flip those too. Those can be difficult to read. So always make sure that you look at it and say, like, could I see this from a little far away? Ask somebody else too, like, hey, does this look good? Can you read this? And make sure that it's something that folks are able to. The other thing, make sure that it's more than just text. So it's really kind of funny that I'm saying that and there's no picture on this slide, but always want to make sure whatever your marketing is, that it's eye-catching. And unless you have, like I said, the font that's really eye-catching but legible, then you can use that, but really try to have something, some sort of graphic, even if it is that meme, just a picture that you found off of Google. That's fine too. But just make sure that it's eye-catching and that there's more to it. So SCPC's best practices. We use social media a lot, and you may or you may not. One of the things Josh and I were talking about when we created this is you all will know your residents better than we know our attendees to our programs. We put things in a lot of different social media platforms, and each year we kind of learn how people are interacting with SCPC, and it's always something different, a different platform. But you're going to know when your residents get there, you're going to know they are not on Facebook, they're on Instagram or whatever this year's group of students is on this time. So you're going to know, and knowing that is half the battle, because then you know you can post on that or make a group or have them follow you or whatever you want to do to engage with them on social media. So that's half the battle. The other half is knowing when are they on social media. So you need to post when they're on it. If you post at 8 a.m., nobody's going to see it or respond to it. It's going to get lost in the shuffle. We find that in between classes, like during the time you would be coming to the student center to grab lunch, that kind of thing, people are looking at their phone and walking. So that's a good time for us to post things, as well as in the evenings. That can be a really great time. People are procrastinating and they're on their social media. So it's a good time for us to post something and it be seen by a lot of people. But get to know your residents so that way you know the best way to reach out to them. We always say use more than one attempt to market the event and not just 24 hours before. So SCPC, if we did our job right, you will see a lot of stuff on campus for our events, especially our bigger ones that we need you to know about for a while. I think of events like Six Flags. We usually start marketing that one pretty early. There might be a banner hanging down from the Student Center. You would see it on Facebook, Instagram. We'd have posters in the Student Center as well. We probably are printing big flyers for you all to hang up, and we really appreciate that you do that, by the way. That's an important thing for us as well. But all the different avenues that we have, we try to use them. Chalking, gosh, I could just list up a bunch of different things that we try to do, but you can't just do it once. We've quickly learned that you can't just make a Facebook group and hope people show up, or a Facebook event and hope that people show up. It doesn't always work. And you certainly can't just do it the day before. That's why we start our process in marketing pretty early on, just so that way folks can plan 2 weeks out what their life's going to look like. And then a couple days before, get a reminder about it. Have that time to talk with one another about it. It's really important. And we just use all the resources that we have. So we want to encourage you all to use all the resources available to you to get the message out.
And then just as an example of what our typical piece of marketing might look like, it tries to be as thorough as possible, but also as easy to read as possible. So just going through like the list of things, we go the organization name. We always put that it's the Student Center Programs Council that's putting on this event. Obviously, we want the event title, something related to the event so that you kind of know what's happening. But also I included like this extra little piece saying roller skating event in case you don't really know what rolling through the decades means. You don't really know what you're going to do there. That could just be through the decades themed event. What am I actually doing? Well, you're roller skating. Location in clear text. You know where it's going to be. You know what time it's going to be at, when the event is happening. It's even good to include the day of the week because February 29th may not mean a lot to a whole lot of people. They could be like, oh, what day is that? Wednesday, Thursday? Specifying that it is Saturday, I think, is also helpful for them to know. Some extra stuff we always include at the bottom just to emphasize that it is put on by SCPC, and also there's an accessibility statement there, who to contact in case a person has any questions. That could be just your name with whatever your preferred form of contact is and how a person might ask questions related to the event. We also have sponsor logos, and we also have just a little follow us in case a person attends the event or they're interested in the event and they want to learn more about what other events we have going on. But we try to make it pretty eye-catching, like with the color scheme here, you can kind of tell that it's a little bit retro and it fits in with a little bit like a 70s or 80s theme there. And also we have a picture of roller skates, again, reinforcing what's actually taking place at the event. And then just some resources for making your design. Canva is the first one. That one is super easy to use, super intuitive. They have lots of already made templates that you can just make on your own. Unless you have the premium version, there are some limitations as to what templates and fonts you can use, but for the most part, what they already give you and what is standard is really, really useful and can satisfy all your needs related to marketing. We use it occasionally. It's not typically our first choice, but if we're ever in a crunch to make marketing really, really quickly, Canva is your best bet. What we typically use is the Adobe Creative Suite, specifically Adobe Illustrator. That is not super intuitive, not super user friendly. If you are already comfortable with Adobe Illustrator, that's a great option, but it will take longer to do because there are not templates already available. We just start with a blank screen and work from there and add in all the details and the design aspects as we go. That's available to you whether through the virtual lab or a library computer. If you already have it, then you can access it that way. I don't recommend that you purchase it unless you are willing to use it for lots of other things because it is a little bit more on the expensive side, and the virtual lab is um, just as usable and is just fine. Adobe Spark Post, this is also very good for design. This is free actually, and it's very similar to Canva, except you can download it as an app on your phone. Um, Pretty much the same as what I mentioned for Canva. It's very easy to use, and if you want to do something really quickly, this is a great alternative. And it also can be good if you don't necessarily want to release the same flyer that everyone's already seen. You can make something a little bit different, but still related to the event. If you're real desperate for some reason, Canva or Adobe isn't really working out the day, Microsoft Publisher is an option. I've made things on that before, though not necessarily for SCPC. And again, Word is available to you, and it can have all the details related to an event. But when Canva and Adobe Spark Post are already available to you, it may be best to use those options. You can also find additional resources for making marketing and printing at your area office. And also, if you need any larger signs for your event for whatever reason, you can always utilize paper and clay printing.
So when we were thinking about opportunities that you all have in residence halls to market your programs to your residents, we kind of thought about the space that you have. Certainly, we want you to think about social media and connecting virtually with your residents, but you have so much space available to you that I would utilize if I were you. And I did when I was an RA. So wanted to talk with you about some of them. I will say, like, as a caveat on this, make sure you inform your hall director of all of your marketing efforts. In case there are issues with you, utilizing the elevator for marketing, for example, run it past them, make sure it's okay. There might be additional approval needed, but always just check with them first. So some of the spaces that we think could be a really great spot for you to use for marketing would be your bathroom, especially if you have a communal bathroom on your floor. It's harder to do when you're in apartment style, and we understand that. But if you have a communal bathroom, it makes a lot of sense to use that. We're thinking like the mirrors, whether it's expo markers, which are the dry erase markers that you can write on it. It easily can be erased. So no big issues there. Just make sure it's the expo markers and not a different type of marker. But you can also, tape things to mirrors with the approved type of tape, of course. Stalls, Josh informed me that Fab uses the stalls, but it's not just their real estate. There are other sides to stalls, and go on the sides. I don't know. There's more to it than just where Fab posts their newsletter, but do be respectful of Fab. Don't put things over it, but you can utilize some of the real estate in the stalls too. Doors are also great, especially like by door handles. Think of like where your eyes will look in the bathroom, and the door on your way out, there's a handle. On your way in, there's where your eyes go. So try to use those spaces as best you can. So in your actual hall, there are your doors, your residence doors. Don't cover the door completely. I do know that that's a fire hazard. But I actually had an RA on my staff that would print, this was before memes were a thing, but he would just like Google celebrities' pictures, usually like paparazzi style pictures that were maybe not flattering, but he would just take that, print it, and then write the information about his event. So that celebrity, like Britney Spears on the door, would really kind of get your attention, and then you'd see, oh, you know, that's my door deck, or that would be my event information. But those doors are really a great space because people are looking at it as they're going into their room or their apartment. The floor in your hall can be a great space. It can also be a dangerous space. So make sure you're thinking through how you might use the floor as a marketing space. It would be specific to where residents look. So don't just do it in the middle of the floor when they may not look at it. But also make sure it's something they're not going to trip over or cause any kind of hazard there too. And then just throughout the building, you have a lot of different spaces available to you. Think of like the elevators, how that works. I go to hotels, and the elevator, when the door shuts, there's a piece of marketing sometimes. So if you can utilize that safely without damaging your elevator, we need those things working, go for it, as long as you run it past your hall director, of course. As well as just the other sides of the elevator as well. Don't have to do the door. You can just do the back where they see it coming into the elevator. If you don't have elevators in your building, there's stairwells. I always think about, like, when I'm walking up the stairs, I do kind of look at that landing in the stairwell. So maybe you can effectively use that space. And then just your front door, your lobby, there's always a space where people are coming into the building. You can use all of the spaces there. Again, run a lot of that past your hall director just to make sure they're on board with it. But these are really great opportunities that you have that we don't have to get in front of residents. And then finally, did want to give like just a brief mention to COVID-related considerations. So as you're having events in this new world that we live in, it is important to put some of this in your marketing. I think we're at an interesting place because we want to have events. You all are back on campus, and we wouldn't have brought you back if you couldn't be together, right? So we really want you all to have events too, because you all are on the same floor, kind of around each other a lot. But in those events, you have to help make people comfortable coming to your event. And not everybody is going to be comfortable coming to your event now. That's just the reality of the world that we live in. But your marketing can help ease some concerns, help people feel a little bit safer coming to your event. So I think these are things that could be helpful for you to include in your marketing and just in your planning as well. So the first thing would be masks. If you want people to wear them, tell them on the flyer or in your marketing, and know that positive peer pressure is a thing. So if you're wearing your mask, they'll wear their mask. I think that's a really important thing you all as examples and leaders in your halls can do. Do want you to explain any potentially confusing or uncommon instructions. So there might be a way to sign up for your event that's not normal. You wouldn't have done it last year, but you're doing it this year. There might be some social distancing guidelines, staying 6 feet apart, things like that. But if there's anything like that that's a little bit different or confusing, or you wouldn't think to do if this was last year, do explain it, any kind of instructions in your marketing. We feel like it's really great for us all to address what steps we're taking to make the event safer. This may not be something you put on a flyer, but it might be something that you do in a conversation when you're teasering and you're walking on your floor walks and talking to people about your event. Maybe that's the time to address, like, what are you doing to make your event a little bit safer? Just helps people have a little bit of peace of mind coming to your event. And then social media is going to be a great way for you to include residents that maybe want that virtual option, don't feel comfortable coming to an in-person event. We always talk about inclusion. This is going to be a different type of inclusion than we've ever seen before. We have to find ways to include everyone, even though they might have like different comfort levels coming to your events. We are thinking a lot more about virtual events, and there will be another presentation led by Josh and myself about virtual events, but even when you have your in-person on the floor events, think about a virtual component to include those that may not feel comfortable coming. And then finally, this may not have been something you did in the past, and that's totally understandable, but think about it for this year to clean surfaces before, during, and after your event. I know we talk a lot about like even sometimes just the visual of you trying to make it a safer environment makes people think it's a safer environment. Um, it's a good idea to clean anyway. And yes, we all probably should have been doing this before, and we're probably going to continue to do this in the future. But do make sure that you show people that you do want this to be a safe environment. Sometimes just the optic of it is really helpful for people.
So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Listed here below is Carly's email and my own email. We are super happy to help in any way that we can, or if you have any questions related to marketing or related to this presentation, please email us. We'd be very happy to answer any of your questions. And then if there's any way that you think we could help with your programs, or if you're interested in partnering us in any way, I would actually be the person of contact, so go to Josh Thrift's email at vp.recruitment@scpc.govtech.edu. But we'd be happy to have that discussion as well, and we'd love to partner in ways that we can bring SCPC events to your residents or work with you to make a really great event for everyone that everyone can engage in.
Also, with that, SCPC plans a lot of events that you can just bring your residents to, and it still counts as your event because you put in the work to get your floor together and to bring them to our events. So things like Six Flags, if you were already going to go anyway, just ask your residents to come with you. Make sure they get there and get back and all of that, but that makes it a program of yours, as well as like the comedy show, concerts, stuff like that. Things that we're planning, you can easily get your floor together and bring them on it. Let us know if you have any questions.
Yep, and that is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.